Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, starts now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for March the 13th. In the year of our Lord 2025. This is our one of two, and the goal always protect life, liberty, and property, to promote God, family, and country, to do so on your radio in the traditions of our founding fathers. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we use the blueprint for liberty, the supreme law of the land, the Constitution of the United States of America as our guide. As you know, we reject revolution, unless it's a Jesus revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. You know we use the checks and balances brilliantly put in place by the Founding Fathers. That's one of our peaceful solutions we have at our fingertips always, ladies and gentlemen. Never forget that. Standing in the gap in the culture war. That's who we are. That's what we do. Welcome to the broadcast. So much to discuss, so little time to discuss it. So let's get right to it. I'm on the road, traveling from Houston, Texas to Dallas, Texas. So we got a lot going on, folks. I'll tell you what. And I apologize for being on a phone. Sometimes you think you're going to have better connectivity than you end up having. And that's what it takes. Live radio on the road, not a great mixture. I mean, it's a good mixture if you have a lot of money and plenty of time at your fingertips. Because all you got to do is just make sure you're in a stable place. And, hey, just tell the crew, because you have plenty of money, tell the crew to set up everything, and I'll just walk in like a rock star and be there. That's just not how it works for, redneck American talk show hosts such as myself. Got to run things on a shoestring, got to use money wisely, and got to do the best we can with what we've got. So there you have it. Hopefully the phone's coming through pretty good. Liz, we doing all right? Sounding good? Ready to go? All right. She says, yes, sir, loud and clear. You got to dig that. By the way, yesterday's broadcast from the road as well. And but we had our buddies Lance Miliaccio and George Valentine, the Big Mig brothers, on the radio. Host of the Big Mig podcast. It's a bunch of different shows now, by the way, because Lance is becoming quite the prolific talk show host. They do a radio show called the Big Mig Radio Show on the weekends on Liberty News Radio. They do their TV show, their TV version, Powered by Truth, on Rumble and X, thebigmig.com to learn more about all that. They're also working on some crypto shows. That's the interesting thing. I've always been a don't dip your toe in the crypto guy, but now I'm kind of convinced folks are going to be required to dip your toe in the crypto. Donald Trump is a crypto guy. He was against it before he was for it, but now he's working on a basket of cryptocurrencies and embracing crypto. And so I'm afraid we're going to be forced to dip our toe in the crypto, bro. That's all there is to it. And so that's a reality check. One of the things that I found from Lance that's very interesting is there are people now trying to put cryptocurrencies together backed by constitutional money, by constitutional gold and silver. We'll talk about that a little more with Bryan Rust, Rust Coin and Gift. Well, it's now Free Water Coin Co. FreeWaterCoinCo.com. You've got a friend in the honest metals business. Anyway, I digress, except for Lance doing some crypto shows, and we'll keep an eye on that ball just for you. If we're going to be forced to be involved in it, we might as well learn about it and educate ourselves regarding it. That's for sure. We talked about this, in my opinion, sad story, Catholics for Catholics. They're going to host a Catholic Prayer for America gala at the Mar-a-Lago. It'll be on March the 19th. I guess 100 priests will be attending, a bunch of speakers. General Michael Flynn will be there speaking, several different people. Jason Sullivan will be, has the article on this. And they say Catholic Prayer for America will be led by faith leaders, conservative thought leaders, and Catholics committed to upholding their religious values and the Constitution in today's challenging situation. Boy, howdy, are they right about the challenging situation, I'll tell you that. And the concern I have with it is it costs like $1,200 to attend the dinner and the prayer. If you want to go early and spend all day, you can go to the mass in the morning. $1,500 for that one. And I'm not trying to be critical. I realize that going to Mar-a-Lago is expensive. I realize to bring in some of these star-studded speakers, a lot of money. I understand all that. At the same time, I do feel that, you know what, at what point is it really about the Lord, about praying for America, about a religious service, a mass, versus, funding star-studded rock stars? Or, it reminds me of the Hank Williams Jr. song, like I said. They tell you send your money to the Lord, but they give you their address, kind of a thing. And it reminds me of Paula White, President Trump's, quote, lead preacher, if you will, lead pastor. Paula White has a very unique, weird, strange history. She's been in it for the money. Her and her former husband were rock star pastors. They built a big old mega church and everything else. She divorced him. He kind of melted down. She became more and more of a rock star, met Donald Trump. She's been scratching Trump's back. Trump's been scratching her back. Famous, rich, plenty of money, plenty of starts, overs, plenty of allegations of immorality and everything else. And I'm not here to attack Paula White. What I am here to say is, at what point is it really about Jesus versus the mega church, the rich and famous, the powerful, I don't know that I'd want to attend that event. Even if I had the $1,500 to pay for a ticket. If I go and I have people around me that need to go too, before you know it, we're into that thing, $10, $20, $30, $40,000. We just don't have that kind of money. And even if I did have that kind of money, I don't think that's where I'd put the money. I'd want to be more careful with it. I believe the money that I get when people donate to Liberty News Radio or to lovingliberty.net, and it's sacred funds. So we need to be very careful and judicious with that money. Anyway, it reminds me of the bumper sticker we talked about yesterday too. You got to pull up right behind the vehicle to see the bumper sticker because it's kind of small. It says, "Do you follow Jesus this close?" And it kind of really brings home the point, in my opinion. We then talked about this disgrace story where Thomas Massey does not want to vote in favor of the omnibus spending bill that Mike Johnson, clown show in his own right, put together. It's a big old 99-page spending bill. The problem is, we debated yesterday with George Valentine and Lance Migliaccio about reading that bill and what it says and what it includes. And, Lance and George are like, Sam, what you got to do is just read the bill. So George sent me a copy of the bill, and I looked at it, and it's not readable, folks. Let me explain what I mean. I can read the numbers, the words on the page, but I can't understand any of it. And so what it will say is something like this. Per this bill, and it'll give you a bunch of numbers, then we're going to replace 4 million with 3.7 million. Per this other bill, we're going to, increase this from 2 million to 2.4 million. And replace this number with this number. Unless you go research every bill they refer to, you can't know what that even means. So now you got a 99-page bill that refers to former past bills after bill after bill after expenditure and all it does is make adjustments to those. And so it is almost impossible to really read the bill and understand it. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have a bunch of congressmen, a bunch of senators voting on a bill they've never read. And I brought that up to Lance and George said, we'll just have our aides read it. Each aide will take a little piece of it and read it and tell us. And by the time you depend on, let's just say you got 5 aides that read 20 pages each, then you get 5 reports back. You're going to vote on a bill that you haven't read that you've got 5 different filters, right? I think it's a disaster. So Thomas Massey wisely saying, man, I'm not going to vote for this bill. It's not going to do it. It's an omnibus spending bill. We shouldn't have those. There's no time to read it. There's no time to analyze it because it's so complex. And so Thomas Massey says, I'm not voting for it. Well, he's the only Republican, in my opinion, with the cojones to stand up and say no. But now President Trump is leading the charge to, quote, unseat Kentucky Rep. Thomas Massey who has said he will not support the, quote, GOP's short-term government funding bill. This is according to The Hill. And I'm really disappointed in President Trump because Thomas Massie, I don't think is perfect, but I think he's one of the best representatives we have. Okay? So anyway, all I can tell you is shame on Donald for that one. We're going to have Bryan Rust with me in seconds. Got a whole lot of hard-hitting talk straight ahead. This is the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live, nationally syndicated by the Loving Liberty Radio Network. Hang tight, got more.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
Do you treasure your liberty? Well, at lovingliberty.net, we most certainly do. And we want to help protect your liberty too. Become part of the family. Everyone knows that the core of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect the integrity of its family, we the people. Won't you join us as a Loving Liberty sponsor to help us promote the principles in the 5,000-year leap? Let's restore the miracle that changed the world at lovingliberty.net.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcasts at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
All right, it's time for the Honest Money Report, ladies and gentlemen, with our buddy Bryan Rust, freewatercoinco.com. Welcome back, Bryan.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Glad to be with you. Safe travels on your adventures down there in Texas.
Thank you, sir. So what do you think? Thomas Massie, the only one with the guts to say no to this big omnibus spending bill. They say it's 99 pages, Bryan, and it is. And for congressional bills, that sounds like it's pretty small. Compared to the 1,500, 2,000, whatever page behemoths they usually have. But the problem is, I got a copy of this bill, and I'm reading it, and it says things like this. Based on Bill H.R., and I'm making up numbers, so don't stick with the numbers, just follow the point. H.R. 5972 replace $4 million with $3,700,000, and would this bill do that, and that bill do this bill do that? And, I mean, I read 2 or 3 or 4 pages, and I'm like, man, unless I go look up every one of these bills, I can't have really a clue what we're adjusting. I can just see these adjustments, but I don't know what they relate to, and I don't know that just reading through all these adjustments without context or without the clarity there, I don't know that it means anything. And at the end of the day, I look at the bottom of the bill, and I can't even see a total on the thing. The word total doesn't even exist. I tried to look in there to see if, it funds Planned Parenthood, so I looked for Planned Parenthood. Those words don't seem to exist. And anyway, I don't even know that reading the bills is helpful anymore, Bryan.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. I've always kind of been, look, when it comes to, we're going to shut down the government, and they throw that out there and use that as kind of a leverage. We can't do that, and these people are not going to be able to have work and all this stuff. Well, I'm all for shutting it down. Just to, let's let the chips fall, accountability happen, and then go from there and say, okay, we can't keep going where we're going. I mean, look where the numbers are, the interest we're paying. It just doesn't work. So I agree with you. These bills they keep throwing out. I mean, isn't this the same thing we've been doing forever? Well, you don't need to read the bill. Just take our word for it. Let's get it passed. Then we can come back and try to hash through it.
You can see what's in it, Brian.
That's right. Well, it's pathetic. I mean, growing up in everything, I mean, I'm going to buy this car. I'd like to test drive it. I'd like to have my mechanic look at it. I'd like to do that before I buy it because buyer beware. But in this sense, it's the opposite. You don't need to know what's in it. You don't need to. Don't worry. Trust us. We don't trust them. I mean, look where we're at.
Don't they tell you when you're a little kid too? When you grow up, they're like, "Hey, you should never sign anything that you haven't read and understand."
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We've been taught this all our lives, and now we're supposed to go opposite that because we should really trust this. And over the past number of years, where's the trust? I mean, let's just go through each individual story. I mean, it'd be volumes of books I know the information you have, Sam, on the distrust that's happened. So.
And I look at this thing, Brian, and I don't understand because, like I told you, I read several pages of it. And I don't even mind reading the 99 pages. I'm not afraid to read a lot. And I can read with my screen reader, my voice synthesizer, and I can read faster than most people by a long shot. So I get it. But when it just tells me, hey, this number's replaced with this number according to this bill and that bill, unless you go look up all the companion bills, which, you can't even understand what it means. And so if it says we're going to replace, 4 million with 3,700,000, we're going to replace 2 million with 2.6 million. We're going to this, we're going to that. All I want to know is this: every line item I want to be at least the same or less. And if it's something that we're like, Sam, we can't get to the bottom of this one yet, or we've already tried and the judges have shut us down, or okay, I'll give a little bit of break for reality. But at the same time, to me, I can't figure out what we're even spending and what it all relates to. And that means neither can a congressman or a senator unless they go look up the bills, because you can't remember all of them, and you can't know. And if you have your aides read it, I mean, how do you know if you get, let's say I have 10 aides, and 10 aides read 10 pages each. Boom, got it. Fine. But they can't know either if they read their 10 pages. It will take them literally hours and hours and hours of research to even put it in context. And by the time they do that, they won't be able to summarize it for me because they'll be like, Sam, it's really complicated. So the only answer that I can think of that makes any sense, Brian, and no one's listening to me on this, no one. When I even talked to Lance and George yesterday, and I'm like, would you sign it? And they're like, yeah, I would sign it. I'm like, well, what if you haven't read it? Well, our aides could read it and brief us, and nobody can read the bills anyway. But would sign it in the name of unity. And I guess I'm saying, you know what? I don't care about unity. I care about what's right and wrong. And if we're going to save all this money, we don't need to raise the debt ceiling. If we're going to save all this money, then, hey, I want to see it clearly on the page where we're saving money. But what Mike Johnson said to me tells me more than all the bills you can read. He said this: hey, let's fund the current government and let's work on the Doge savings later. And now Thomas Massey, congressman from Kentucky, is the only one that won't go along publicly. And now Trump has targeted him to remove him from office. And I just go, how do we trust these people when they're doing that? Why wouldn't you promote and back Thomas Massey? Why, if you're Mike Johnson, wouldn't you say, I've got to have clear savings and I've got to have them now? I mean, he's the one that sat behind the president and nodded his head over and over and over when Trump was talking about how bogus these ill-placed expenditures are and how bogus these expenditures are. And I mean, Mike Johnson was just emphatically agreeing. But Mike Johnson voted for every one of those expenditures we're talking about, right? So, I mean, the disconnect is just beyond the pale. And then if I bring it up, then now I'm on the outs, right? Because me and Thomas Massey, we're the bad guys now.
Yeah, well, no doubt about it, Sam. I think that, we would be more understanding, I think, if it was, different in years past, where we had a little bit of clarity, where we had more clarity and trust in what was going on. But we don't. There's none of that. They've broken their word again and again and again. And for us to just jump in and say trust, I'm not a fan of them not supporting this and beating up the individual who wants to halt the practice. Let's just look at this a little bit. If we pay, interest on our expenses in 2023 was 1.13 trillion. That's just the interest.
Whoa.
The projections for 25 is just break through that. So it's tremendously higher. For me, my small peanut brain here, 1 trillion seconds equals 31.688 years. 31,000 years is a trillion seconds. I can't even comprehend that. 1 trillion pennies is $10 billion. So I can't wrap my head around these trillions and trillions of dollars that we're just throwing out there like it's no big deal. And we're financially bankrupt. The world wants our money. We're paying all the
Brian,
debts
that's why
around
you
the
got to
world.
trust your politician. That's what they're there for, buddy.
That's right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's out of control. And so,
it's
like you
literally
say,
a clown show, and I don't know why we the people tolerate it.
Yeah, I agree. And your common sense is what you're using here, Sam, is common sense. And we've talked about that. Let's go back and use common sense today because Trump's coming in. They're doing things, and we like some of these things they're doing. But let's have common sense moving forward and keep common sense in the agenda all forward. People will buy into that.
Well, so I have just some very, very basic questions that I wanted to ask, and nobody can give me the answers that I know of. And they say, Sam, read the bill, and I look at the bill, and I don't see the answers. Because, again, it just says, hey, this bill, replace this money with this money. So unless you go research every bill, you can't know. But here's my question. Donald Trump got up on the podium there in front of Congress in his address to Congress, and he said, hey, they spent this much money on transgender mice. And CNN went ballistic and said, oh, my gosh, how dare you say that? How dare you make such a bogus claim? And we fact-checked it, and it's bogus. Well, then the fact-checkers went and checked the fact-checkers, and the fact-checkers didn't really do their job, and they lied, and Trump was right, and the fact-checkers got snookered, and the truth is Trump's right. We spent whatever millions of dollars, millions, on transgender mice, okay?
Yeah.
And so Trump was right and CNN was wrong. So here's my simple question. I'm not very smart, but here it is, Brian. Hey, are we going to continue funding that mice, study for transgender mice in this latest bill? So I searched for the word mice or mouse, and it doesn't exist, Brian. Does that mean they're not funding it?
They're just calling it a different name.
Well, or it's in the bill that they just referred to by the numbers, but yet it's not in there, right?
Right.
So you can't look it up. You can't know.
Right.
Now, here's the next question. I don't know if you saw this story, but they're creating woolly mice. Did you hear about this?
I did. You guys were talking to someone
Right.
a little bit about
they
that.
want to bring back the mammoth. Okay. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but they want to bring back the mammoth, and so they want to start with these what they call woolly mammoth mice. And they say these are cuter than heck mice. They got this fur like a mammoth they speculate would be and everything else, and they're the woolly mammoth mice. Okay, are we funding that in there?
Probably. It's a new species.
Well, buddy, I can't vote yes on that, Brian. I don't want to fund mammoth transgender mice.
That's right.
Just imagine if a transgender mammoth mouse was running around your town. Holy moly, ladies and gentlemen. You got Bryan Rust and Sam Bushman trying to bring common sense to the round table. We're doing it right now on your radio. I'm telling you right now, you got a friend in the honest money business. I want mammoth gold coins is what I want. Just saying. All right, hang tight. FreeWaterCoinCo.com. Honest Money Report continues. Gold and silver prices. Up next, you are listening to the one and only Liberty Roundtable live with Bryan Rust on your radio.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The Environmental Protection Agency under President Trump is charting a new course, cutting regulatory red tape, taking a more energy-friendly stance under its new administrator.
The list of changes range from coal-fired power plants, climate change, and electric vehicles. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said, quote, "We are driving a dagger through the heart of climate change religion and ushering in Americans' golden age," end quote. Zeldin said if approved, the Trump administration's actions will eliminate trillions of dollars in regulatory costs and hidden taxes, lowering the cost of living for American families by reducing prices when buying a car, heating your home, and operating a business. Zeldin said it isn't about abandoning environmental protection. It's about achieving it through innovation and not strangulation. Tasha Stevens reporting.
The Labor Department says the rate of increase in wholesale inflation slowed last month. Year over year, producer prices were up 3.2% in February, but that was down from a year-over-year gain of 3.7% in January. Senate Democrats appear ready to shut down the government tomorrow night. They oppose a Republican stopgap spending bill that was approved by the House that would fund the government through September. Democrats insist on a 30-day funding bill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying that Republicans lack the votes to get their plan through the Senate. Parts of fire-scarred Los Angeles County are under evacuation orders. There are fears that torrential rains could unleash mudslides and destructive debris flows. After 9 months stuck on the International Space Station, a couple of astronauts will have to wait a while longer before heading home. A launch pad glitch forcing SpaceX to delay a mission to the space station. The Dow down 175. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Celebrate twice as much with NordVPN's birthday deal. Get 72% off and a coupon for up to 1 year free. Visit NordVPN and discover the benefits. Secure up to 10 devices with a single account. Encrypt your online traffic. Reduce the risk of phishing, scams, and malware with NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro. Get the special birthday deal at NordVPN.com. Additional terms apply. NordVPN.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile have convinced you need unlimited data. Fact is, most people don't. Pure Talk only charges $25 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless. Dial pound 250 and say spend less, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Imagine a school where faith and integrity are at its center, where heritage and responsibility instill character, where educating both hearts and minds brings about academic excellence. There is a school in American Fork where character and embracing the providence of a living God are fundamental, where students' national test scores average near the 90th percentile. Based on LDS principles and a love of country, now in our 39th year, American Heritage School is accepting fall enrollment for kindergarten through high school. What would you do for your child? Give them an education that will prepare them for life. Located east of the Temple in American Fork, American Heritage School is a remarkable and affordable alternative. Visit us, find us online, or in the Yellow Pages. American Heritage School in American Fork.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
You are listening to the Honest Money Report, brought to you by freewatercoinco.com. Bryan Rust with me, doing a great job as always. Bryan, where are we sitting for constitutional currency? Where's gold and silver right now, sir?
Gold is at $2,955.50.
Wow. All right, we're about right around that $3,000 mark once again. It dipped a bit, but now it's back, right?
Right. It's holding strong.
And silver?
33.27.
33.27, ladies and gentlemen. Man, that's up a bit for silver. Silver's doing pretty well. It hasn't been at 33 for quite a while, right?
Yeah, 33 was kind of a break point on, obviously on paper, but we've been to 50. We're going back to 50 and probably higher. I'm conservative, but guaranteeing, we'll see another $50 before we know it.
All right. Well, that's good news, ladies and gentlemen. And we recommend, most important, that you take possession of your metal. Don't just buy it on paper, is the reason Bryan mentioned that that's what the numbers are on paper right now. Don't just get your money on paper and let somebody else control it. Take possession of your metal. That's advice point 1. Advice point 2 is don't get in the panic and think you got to get food storage and money all at once and go in debt for it. Don't do any of those things. Just get a little bit of food, a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold, a little bit of beans, Band-Aids, and bullets, like I say, and do it just one step at a time, a little bit over, even a couple of years. It turns out to be quite a lot. And that's really kind of what we should kind of recognize and be aware of. freewatercoinco.com to learn more. Bryan, the headline says Biden admin, I guess, spent at least $1 trillion on DEI-related projects, diversity, equity, and inclusion projects. To me, I don't know how much of that money's been spent, but it seems like you got to claw that back, number one. And number two, you got to throw people in prison for this. Congress didn't approve that much money for DEI projects, I'm sure. And if they did, we need to expose that too. But again, it's hard to know what Congress spends money on. But, I mean, they say Biden spent $1 trillion on that. Bryan, that's criminal stuff.
Well, there's a lot of criminal stuff going on, and I liked what Lance said yesterday. I mean, if he was in charge, he'd be bringing it all back. If the Clinton daughter or whatever was given X amount, then bring it back. Or if I guess Biden gave 2 of his cabinet members or something to start some business, and why did he do that? And they haven't done anything with it, and why to throw out $28 million? I mean, we reckless spending is reckless spending, and like you say, we can't read what's in these bills because we can't understand it and see it. It's not transparent. I mean, we'd like to see accountability and transparency in what they're spending. Why are you giving the money here? What's your thought there, first of all? And reckless, is it reckless, or if it's not, if it's right, we want it back. I mean, it's these get rich, people are getting rich like mad on the taxpayers' money, and there's no accountability for it. We want answers.
Yeah, in fact, they say the study identified 460 government programs across 24 government agencies that diverted resources. Now, that word's interesting to me, diverted resources. So if they diverted it, does that mean it's in the bill that I read? I don't know. To the DEI initiatives, then they say that the administration also systematically infused DEI language into every aspect of the government. Now, they say reshaping priorities and policies. I don't even know how to deal with that, but I don't know how me reading a bill would give me that reality check, right?
Well, I don't think we can understand kind of, they throw logic or throw words in there to maybe, kind of confuse us with what that means or so on. And that's what I think. I think that we've gone down this path for so long, there's no accountability, that I think, what is lawful anymore, because if it's not under your jurisdiction, then you shouldn't be handling that. But it seems like that Biden and others have not having the authority to do this are doing it anyway, because they feel like, well, there's no accountability. No, look, we go back 10, 15 years. We're getting away with whatever we want anyway. So it's not going to matter if I decide. And so we need to get back to what it's, the Constitution, where we're at, and start from scratch and say, and everything else is gone. And so,
and that's why I say that the only way is to shut down government completely. The only one that's really willing to do that and not willing to spend the money is Thomas Massie on the House side. That's where the purse strings are held. That's where all funding bills, at least constitutionally speaking, are supposed to originate. But now Trump's attacking, Thomas Massie. But I look at it and say the only way to really get a handle on this is shut down government entirely and then fund the proper role of government one line item at a time. And it shouldn't be a big debate. If the line item is A, and you say, hey, I'm going to create several different fields or categories to look at each one of these things. You're going to know how much the expenditure is. You're going to know what line item in the Constitution provides for or allows for this. And then you're going to basically have another number that says, here's how much we spent last time, or even an average over the last whatever years. How much are we reducing or increasing or whatever? And then everybody can look at that and say yay or nay or whatever. And it should be that simple. And people say, well, you got to give them time, Sam. Look, they've had literally like 9 weeks or 10 weeks or something in Congress now. And I think if you're there Monday through Friday, supposed to be working 8, 10, whatever hours a day or whatever, how many of those bills could you pass in 8, 9, 10 weeks? They didn't do any of it. They put a big, huge bill up with a meltdown deadline of Friday night this weekend. And so you got to pass it, or you're the bad guy because you're the one shutting down government. They haven't learned a single lesson, as far as I can tell, Brian. It's the same as it's always been.
Yeah, you've hit it right on, Sam, and I agree. It's we look at common sense in business as the fact of, okay, we're coming together. Your committee's here. Your committee's here. What power, authority do you have? Given so Congress holds this, House holds this, the president holds. These are this is the checks and balances we want. I don't know why they're attacking Massie. Isn't that what we want as a people, for someone to step up for us who support, like, no, we're not going to do this because we don't know. And so that's what we want as a people. But yet they want to attack someone, and so which would cause fear. Why would I want to run if I'm always looking behind me because they're going to stab me in the back because I'm trying to do the right things? It's the whole thing's broke. And so, yeah, it's not.
Well, and I look at they say that we spend $1 million or $1 trillion. I'm sorry, on the military each year now. $1 trillion.
Yeah.
I'm for the military. Don't misunderstand this. I support the defense of America. I support those who put themselves in harm's way for this great country. Don't get mixed up on that, anyone. However, Trump said, hey, we can defend America and chop that $1 trillion budget on the military in half to $500 billion. So now this is a CR, they call it a continuing resolution. So it's supposed to fund government for like half a year, 6 months or whatever. And so I'm looking at it and going, okay, so does that mean if you take $1 trillion, chop it in half, $500 billion, and then you basically say it's only 6 months, so there shouldn't be more than $250 billion in expenditures for the military. And that's if we don't decrease, that's if we just decrease the 50% Trump talked about. Is it more or less than that? See, and I want to ask those questions, but I don't see how I can even get the answer. I don't know where to look. I don't know how to get that, because if you're not careful, they'll be like, oh, Sam, the building of these planes, that's not really in the budget until we buy them. I know we told, Boeing or whoever to build them, but we don't count that until we buy them. And they'll have some weird shenanigan to make it like I can't even assess that, right?
Yeah. They twist it up and so on, so you can't. It's the circus we've talked about in the past. There's so much going on that we can't concentrate on one factor here, and then they just keep throwing more and more. So there's no way you can figure this out. It's just a major puzzle, missing all these pieces.
And then the question becomes, hey, U.S. aid, That's under scrutiny quite a bit. How much money of this goes into U.S. aid? So in my world, you'd be able to look at a U.S. aid line item in a budget and see a number. Well, U.S. aid goes to all kinds of different groups, and if they're listed under every group, unless I have a list of all the groups as I hunt the bill, I can't know. And now we hear that U.S. aid official issues, quote, stunning order to remaining staffers, quote, shred and burn all your documents, including the classified ones, Brian.
Oh, man. So what's wrong with that picture, Sam?
Well, the problem is, to me, it's criminal. There's no authority to do that. I mean, that's just for starters, right? Hang tight, ladies and gentlemen. Brian and Sam continue.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Step into the boots of the American West with Range Magazine, where grit meets grace. This is a front row seat to the stories, struggles, and triumphs of ranchers, farmers, and stewards of the land. From jaw-dropping photography to no-nonsense reporting, Range brings you the untold tales of life on the range. Whether you're a city dweller with a cowboy's heart or living life where the pavement ends, Range speaks to the soul of the West. Subscribe today at rangemagazine.com.
Back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Bryan Rust, Sam Bushman on your radio, hard-hitting talk at your fingertips. We're talking about this clown show. So the U.S. aid official literally said burn and shred all documents in your possessions, classified or not. Brian, I don't know what needs to happen, but Cash Patel or the FBI or somebody over at the FBI, or maybe Pam Bondi at the Justice Department, whatever, somebody needs to literally arrest these people on the spot and stop this destruction of evidence. What do you think, Brian?
Well, I find that so that I heard a little bit about this yesterday. You guys were talking a little bit about this shred and burn bags, and they're locked. You can't get in, and once the stuff's in there, what is that all about? It almost sounds criminal just hearing about it. We put stuff in these bags or sent the word out to get all this. It just seems like they're just hiding major stuff going on in there. And there again, there's one more thing added to the puzzle.
And I don't know what we do about it though, Brian. I mean, if they destroy all the evidence, then pretty soon they'll be like, we did an investigation. What they did was really horrible. It's really bad. But of course, we've decided not to prosecute it this time, Brian.
That's right.
We've chosen not to pursue this.
It's so bad. I just, that's what we've been doing for the last number of years, and it's wrong. And I think people are getting fed up with it. And somewhere, somebody big that's done that's been caught red-handed with proof needs to be accounted for. We're throwing people in jail because they just say a word here, and these people don't like it. But there's so many people that have caused the United States of America major harm, and they're in big positions, and I'd like to see that stopped and them held accountable, because it'll just keep going unless you stop it.
Well, and Brian, I think a lot of times what you can do is you can make an example out of a situation where you can prevent repeat offenders. Okay, if, for example, you say shred and burn documents, and then we arrest that person and we prosecute them to the full extent of the law. That has this natural chilling effect on other people that may be in that position or in government or heading up other departments or whatever else. I think the guy next time would be like, maybe I ought to not publicly talk about that. Or maybe I ought to not do that. Or maybe, am I crazy? I kind of think you could prosecute a few examples and pretty much chill that being an option. But when Hillary Clinton uses bleach bit, that software to delete everything, and then they use hammers to destroy hard drives, that set the president's precedent for this guy to go, hey man, just burn everything and shred everything. No problem. And don't you think that the allowing of Hillary did that kind of led to this? And I mean, a few prosecutions could make all the difference in the world, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is we'd like to see maybe one of these major players, be brought down because of the corruption and which is criminal, and a treason, like you say, they're against their own people. And it's isn't there some kind of house of order? We talk about house of order. Well, are we in that right now? Is there house of order right now in the government itself? In my home, I'd like to have a house of order, or in my business, somewhat of a house of order, because that clarity and we can work together. But there's not any of that here. It's just chaos and there's so much corruption, and I think there are people trying to do some good, but we can't get through the red tape. It's
I pretty much think Donald Trump is trying to do a lot of good, and I think Congress is undermining him. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, literally sits behind Trump in that speech and nods, yes, Trump's right. But remember, Mike Johnson's, voted for all that spending. And now Mike Johnson's saying, hey, let's go ahead and I'm trying to think of the way he says it, fund the government and work on the savings later. We don't have time for that, Mike. You do that and you will lose the next election cycle, buddy. And so I did a video, Brian, about this. It's up at libertyroundtable.com. It's a video. And it says, Congress just kicked the can down the road. Once again, we kicked the can, we kicked the can. We kicked the can, and then we kicked the can some more. Here's the video. Let's listen to this, and then you can respond, Brian. Here it is.
We kicked the can, and then we kicked the can some more. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman with another Liberty Roundtable Live short video brought to you by LovingLiberty.net. You've got incredible talk radio around the clock. Download the iPhone app, the Android app, or listen online, LovingLiberty.net. Shame, ladies and gentlemen. Speaker Mike Johnson backs what they call the temporary spending bill. He says Congress should codify DOGE spending cuts later. What on earth are you talking about, Mike Johnson? Have you lost your mind?
You lost your mind? Go! You disgust me! Go!
Donald Trump said we need to cut the military budget in half, which means $1 trillion could become $500 billion. DOGE has already saved supposedly $55 billion. Rand Paul and others have put forth reports showing you how to decrease expenditures big time, showing waste throughout our government. The National Taxpayers Union has written proposals and plans and think tank studies that can help us reduce spending. Right now, while the Republicans have the window of opportunity, why would we ever back a temporary spending bill and say, let's deal with DOGE spending cuts later? The Senate can only lose 2 votes and still pass a budget. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, cannot afford to lose one more vote and get his budget passed. This is because they say Democrats and Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky always vote against the bill. No, it's because you clowns will not focus on single issue bills, up and down votes on a single issue. What you go for is a big, beautiful spending bill, and it melts down every time. When, Mike Johnson, when, members of the House, when, members of the Senate, will you come to your senses and realize straight up and down single issue transparent votes are the only way to move forward, and you should only vote to spend money on those items that can be constitutionally justified. Until we get that done, it's going to be a disaster and a shame. I'm Sam Bushman, and that's another Liberty Roundtable Live short video. God save the Republic.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What do you say, Brian?
I love it. That's exactly right. I mean, these are things that need to be addressed, and we need to stop the bleeding here, and instead of just kicking this can down the road and keep kicking. I mean, I think that you can sense the fact of if they keep kicking the can down the road, they're looking for time, and all we need is time, because in a year or two, or a couple of years, that goes by pretty quick. Now we're back to usual run the government as usual type thing. Trump's out of the way, or now we can kind of do, and they just try to mess things up so it doesn't get, they don't have to account for kind of what's going on. But we're out of control, and we're bankrupt, and it's not getting better.
Well, in Trump's defense, I think he's trying. In Thomas Massey's effort, I think he's doing the very best we can. I think there's Rand Paul, Mike Lee, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Sam Bushman, Bryan Rust. Many of us, ladies and gentlemen, have been advocating to go into Fort Knox and see what gold we really have. Why they haven't done it yet, I don't know. And all it takes is a guy to roll over there and get it done. I mean, it's a one-day project probably. And I don't know why somebody hasn't already gone. But they're also trying to audit and end the Fed. There's a new bill in place to do that. I support it 100%. As far as I understand, Rand Paul sponsored it in the Senate. Thomas Massey sponsored it in the House. We got to audit and end the Fed, and we got to look at Fort Knox, and there's people really working on this. We just got to give them a lot more support to make sure that, if enough of us demand it, it'll happen. If enough of us sit on the sidelines and they don't believe it's a big issue, it won't happen, Brian. Isn't that really the bottom line?
Yeah, it is the bottom line, and I don't, at the time when they stretch out this time instead of just, making, I'd love to go into Fort Knox as well, but I don't believe there's any gold there. And if it's time they need, then time to restart stockpiling stuff back in there, so that when we do go in, what are you worried about? Here's all the stuff. We got it right here. Well, why couldn't we come in, 2 months ago or 3 months ago? What's the plan? I mean, someone said that JP or something was dishing out some of the gold and getting it back into Fort Knox or something. That was something I heard, but why do we have to wait? Let's open the door, walk in, and see transparency today. If we can't do that...
You ever heard that song, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Brian?
Yes, I have.
All right, somebody needs to change it to 50 Ways to Leave the Federal Reserve. I got a new plan, Stan. You got to be coy, Roy. You got to get on the bus, Gus, and get yourself free. Right?
I love it. I love it.
All right,
That's
final tidbit for the hour, Brian. Tucker Carlson says more gold is being transferred, shipped between countries more so than any other time in history. They know we're in trouble, Brian.
That's exactly right. I mean, you look at what stable form of currency is gold. 5,000 years. I mean, it's universally the strongest thing out there. 5,000 years. And then we're looking at Bitcoin, which is up in the air there somewhere, that they're on a computer punched number.
Bryan Rust, thank you so much, my friend.
Good work, Sam.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. FreeWaterCoinCo.com. You've got a friend in the honest money business. Spread the word, share the love, and remember, freedom is all about us if we grasp the opportunity. FreeWaterCoinCo.com. I'm Sam Bushman. For Bryan Rust, God save our republic.